more often than not, you've seen his frustration and heard his frustration with other people. ESPN reporter Jeremy Fowler writes in his latest column that it's creating tension with the Packers wide receivers, making them scapegoats. Fowler noted that it, quote, isn't sitting well with some, that Rodgers missed most of the offseason and yet still seems unhappy with his young teammates. And this would certainly track normal human being behavior, would it not? You get to training camp and maybe Rodgers hasn't been very available during the summer. He's out doing ayahuasca. He's hiking in these mountains. He's doing that, this, the other thing. But you're like, hey, what does it matter? It's Aaron Rodgers. He can show up whenever he wants to show up. He's going to be great. And I just saw him last year be great. And so I'm not worried about him not being great. So you get to training camp and you've worked out with the backups. You've worked out with Jordan Love. You're catching passes from Jordan Love and other quarterbacks. And it's a fun time, an optimistic time. You look in NFL preview columns and you click around online and you see Packers projected to win the NFC, Packers in the Super Bowl, Packer winners of the NFC North yet again. And you're thinking, life is fine. Life is good. It's going to be a great season. Look at all this talent. Look at the talent of the defense. Look at the talent on offense. We got Aaron Rodgers. We're good. And the season starts, and there's a couple mistakes. And Rodgers points him out like, hey, man, you got to be here on that pass. Or why'd you run that route? Or this is the check at the line. You're like, yeah, you know what? He's right. He's right. Look, he's Aaron Rodgers. He's right. Like, I got to be better, or so-and-so's got to be better. And then 3 weeks later, you've gone through film, and you've gone through these mistakes on film in the wide receivers room, and you've worked with your assistant coach, and you've looked at this, and you're like, we lost again, but I'm getting better. And, man, Aaron missed that throw, and he missed that read. And here's Rodgers going, and we got to simplify the offense. We just have to simplify the offense. And now suddenly people are like, yeah, but you're making some mistakes too. But I'm sure it'll be fine. And then another couple of losses happen, and Rodgers lashes out at guys shouldn't be playing if they're going to make mistakes. And again, you're watching on film him make some bad throws or him make some mistakes and going, yeah, but, you want us not to make any mistakes, but you're not perfect. And I don't know, this is kind of getting tiring to hear this. And then you fast forward to this game against the Lions, where Rodgers makes minimum 2 atrocious decisions and throws, maybe more like 3 or 4 that change the entire game. And you're sitting in the film room after another loss, and it's miserable, and the season might be over, and you're like, but I ran the right route. And honestly, he's bashing us, but where was he in July? Where was he in June? He wants us to be better, but why was he doing ayahuasca when we were at camp? And suddenly, now the Packer season could be over, and a reporter texts you, or a reporter texts your agent, or a reporter speaks to an offensive lineman, and suddenly somebody talks like, yeah, you know what? It got old. The Rodgers thing got old. It doesn't mean they've turned on him, that he's suddenly persona non grata. They don't want him at quarterback. But it does suggest that wide receivers are feeling like, why are we the one getting blamed when you're also making bad mistakes? And, oh, by the way, dude, look in the mirror. You want us to be better, but you weren't around in the offseason when we could have gotten better. And that's where you start getting tired of the attitude. Now, does Rodgers have reason to be frustrated? Sure, they all do. But I've always said Tom Brady might be insufferable in some ways, but damn, this dude played the media like a fiddle the entire career. And that is, no matter how bad things were on the field, whether he was cursing out his offensive coordinator, frustrated with his offensive line for another leaky blocking day, or angry with a wide receiver or running back that ran the wrong route or tight end, he would never say it publicly. I'm sure on the practice field, I'm sure in the film room, I'm sure in team meetings, Brady went in on guys. I'm positive of it. But he would never say it publicly. And you want to know why all of these guys who have ever played with Tom Brady, besides Antonio Brown, will go to the mat for him, is because he never publicly embarrassed them. They weren't all perfect. I'm sure they all got their ass chewed out. But he never would say anything publicly. Brady believes to his very core that to get the best out of everybody, they must trust you. They must love you. And I think very earnestly he loves his teammates. I think Aaron Rodgers doesn't believe the same thing to his core. I think Rodgers has a different type of ego. And Rodgers, because he doesn't have the winning of Tom Brady, needs to rely on his own individual greatness for people to give him his perceived proper amount of respect. And so because yet again, this Packers team is not going to win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers under the center, Rodgers wants to make it very apparent, ain't my fault. And you don't win a lot of allies in the locker room doing that. They're getting tired. They're getting tired of this. And I don't blame them, because out of everything Rodgers has ever done really well, it's the attitude, it's the I'm above a certain element here, is the thing that really makes him hard to embrace completely. It's not hard at all to admire his ability. It's not hard at all to respect his individual greatness. But he's hard to make your, quote, favorite player or to root for him every Sunday, because he can be a brat. And his brattiness here is getting called out internally with grumbling. And it's always been his greatest weakness. And I really do believe there's a connection to why Packers teams have faltered in big spots in the playoffs. I think there's an element to Rodgers where it's very difficult for him in moments of adversity to get his team to elevate their game or for him to elevate his own. It's not like he hasn't been great in big spots, but that one Super Bowl run in 2010, they were the wild card. The pressure wasn't on them, and he was playing loosey-goosey. All of these times where they've been the higher seed, they've had the home field advantage, they've had the bye or whatever, and they've collapsed, the pressure has built and mounted, and I think that's really hard for him, because that last little bit where the guys need to love you. I mean, Montana had that. Guys loved him. Brady has that. I think that's the little itty-bitty. Elway had that by the end of his career. Guys loved him. They wanted to win for him. That little part is missing, and here you hear it again in the grumbling of his teammates.